showing you wonderful pictures of her past trips, and then I will come back and give you some of the logistics of what this, how to apply for it and things you need to know, and then we'll open it up for questions after that. So welcome to you all and to Ellen.
Okay, yeah, welcome everybody. I'm actually going to, Gervais is very excited because she's been with me twice because it's so cool, you want to go more than once. I'm going to just jump right into the picture part because I think that you'll think that Slovenia and Croatia and Bosnia are quite pretty. And I'm trying to make all you show up on my screen. It just went down to like 5 of you. Okay, cool. Is my screen sharing properly? We can see it, good, wonderful. Okay, so this broad is called Stories from a Homeland of Shifting Borders. And I will tell you a little bit more about that as we get into the place. I am leading it, it's 4 weeks long, and the resident counselor is going to be Caitlin Oakes. Not sure if people know her. I'll introduce her with a picture in a bit, and she will pop in if her church meeting ends in time. Okay. So this airplane, if I'm looking off to the left, that's my screen showing you. The airplane is going to go in over Italy and land in Slovenia. And then we'll zoom in a little closer. Slovenia, Croatia, and Bosnia, all right here are where we'll be centered. And those are 3 countries that used to be part of Yugoslavia, which was a socialist country. And it became 6 different countries in 1991, 1992. There are even some places there that are still sorting out whether they're countries or not, whether people will recognize them, like Kosovo, you may have heard of. And the reason it's called Stories from a Homeland of Shifting Borders is because, for instance, in the bay between Slovenia and Croatia, they're still discussing where the border really is. And between some of these other countries, they're still trying to sort out what the border is. So it's pretty interesting that these countries are 30 years old or less, and they're still trying to figure out what it is to be a country, which is why their literature is super interesting, because it's got people living through all sorts of different kinds of history. So this is where we start, Slovenia. It has castles, it's got water, it's got mountains. The highest mountain is Mount Triglav, and I know that the people who go to the Rocky Mountains will think it's not very big, but it's very pretty, and it's part of the Alps. Below is, on the bottom is the castle in Celje. That's one of my favorite castles. We go there and explore. There are a couple families in Celje that we get together with them and their kids, and they really like to talk about American basketball and music. So that's just fun. Here's a previous trip. This is Ljubljana. You go to, sure, there are classes. We have classes, but we also go to cafes and look at castles. So that's pretty fun. More Ljubljana, there's often arts and street festivals while we were there. So there were just musicians performing in the street. The dragon is a big symbol of the city. And in the picture on the upper right, I think our hotel is where my mouse is. Oh wait, no, that's the wrong part of town, isn't it? Never mind, it's really close. It's that close to the river. So, and here is a class. Gervais took a lot of these pictures. She took this picture while I was sitting here watching one of our students give a presentation about a special cultural topic. So everybody will get a cultural topic that they'll research. It could be music, it could be food, it could be customs or costumes even. And then you present that to everybody in the program. Gervais, are you just busting to add things at any point here? Just make it.
I'm just trying to remain calm and be excited for all of you because it's so amazing.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. Right near here, excuse me, we actually hop on a wooden boat and go on a tour up and down the river. This is a place where we haven't managed this yet, but in your free time, you could probably rent stand-up paddleboards or kayaks if I manage to plan it right for you. So we'll see. Also in Ljubljana, it's a university town. There's the castle way up high. It's fun to climb up to the castle and down from the castle and look around. But it's a university town, so there are lots of college students around, lots of cafes. The Salica hostel, the pink and red building, actually used to be army barracks and an army prison. And has been redone by architects and artists into a youth hostel. And we go there and they're actually still, they have the bars on the doors of your hostel dorm room. So it's kind of got a cool feel to it. We meet one of the architects who was key in redoing it and everything that goes into it. For instance, there's a circular hole up next to the sign that actually was from a wrecking ball when the city was gonna destroy this building, but the artist stood up against it. And I think there are 2 holes from wrecking balls, but then the building got to stay. So we get to learn that stuff. There are castles. There's a castle and a cave. And then there are caves. And the caves are really cool. They're like, just think Lord of the Rings. River running through it, bridges over the river. You're in there for a long time, high ceilings. Then we're gonna go to Croatia. And Croatia is just beneath it. It's known for its coast. And this is also what a class could look like in the bottom picture. There are really old ruins here, the not as old church. And then behind that, the building with the little red roof here in the middle is our hostel. So we actually stay looking out at this scene, and behind us is a road and behind that is the water. And we go to a class at the university there where their classrooms actually look out on the water. It's really cool. The classes we go to are about language and literature. And mostly we're there to talk to the students about their experience learning about or writing or how they feel about the literature of their country. When we went to Croatia the first time, they were really annoyed that everybody thought all they wanted to write about was war, because the current students don't relate to the war the way that their parents did. They're the ones who wrote about the war when they separated from Yugoslavia 30 years ago. So we get different generational connections, and it's just really fun to meet the students your age. Okay, what else we got? We got more. It's just really pretty pictures. The one on top right is Zadar, which these 4 towers, when you're out at sea, are supposed to look like the masts on a ship. And that's a different picture of the same place below from a hotel that we stayed in. And that place is famous for us because one of our books takes place here. So we read 3 or 4 short novels or memoirs and some short stories, and we go to the places where they took place, or we meet somebody who translated it from Slovenian or Croatian or Bosnian to English, or we meet somebody who actually wrote it and they speak to us in English. Are there questions so far? I'll take questions at the end, but if you're just like, dang, those are just pretty pictures, that's good enough? Or... Okay, I'll just keep going. Here on the bottom right is a picture of one of our guest speakers. He's actually a writer, a publisher, and a translator. And he's very intellectual. He likes to talk a lot about the intellectual side of things. He's written a story about, it's actually a short story about migration, but it wasn't the migrant crisis of 2015. That's when he wrote it. He was actually writing about people in his town who were smuggling, I think, Kurdish refugees through Croatia. So the stories are about things that are happening in real life. And in the US, maybe you look at novels and you think they're totally made up. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. A lot of the stories that we read from Croatia and Slovenia and Bosnia are really very autobiographical. Okay, pretty places. Oh, Zagreb has lots and lots of statues of writers. This is Miroslav Krleja. And I actually tried to read his book. I would never make you read the book that Ivan gave me. It's a new translation. The reason is with this literature, we're learning about literature and culture. If you don't know the culture and you don't know the history, you're not going to understand the stories. And that one was so interwoven with early 1900s history and geography and famous people that if I was looking up half the stuff, and I've been studying this for a while, wouldn't do that. I give you stuff that you're going to understand. So I vet the reading very carefully, and people do tend to like the reading. Gervais agrees. She's read some of it.
Yeah, as a person who didn't have to read it, I really enjoyed what I chose to read, and really liked it. So Ellen does a good job. And so, yeah, that's all I have to say now.
All now. Then there's Bosnia. Last year, we went for, it was less than 24 hours into Bosnia. It's curvy old roads. It's kind of hard to get there. And so we just didn't have time to dive deep into the country. But this time I'm hoping that we're going to spend time getting to Sarajevo as well. This is Mostar, which is very close to Bosnia. They have a big bridge that the big tourist attraction is that they jump off the bridge and they try to get you to give money so that they'll jump and stuff. They do. There's a club. There's a diving club. The picture in the top left, we're meeting with a guide who told us all about how he was 10 when his city was under siege and being bombed, and that bridge there was bombed. It was built in the 15th or 16th century, and it was bombed and destroyed. And afterwards, some international, I forget which countries, a couple different countries, and foundations made it possible to rebuild this bridge using rocks from the same quarry with the same procedures they used 500 years ago. So it's really neat to go up and over this bridge and think about the history behind it, how long it stood before it was bombed. And we're going to meet people who were there when that happened. And Bosnia is where a lot of nastiness happened. This city is where a lot of nastiness happened. There were Catholics typically on one side of the river, Muslims on the other. You can see the minaret in the back. And there were lots of intermarriages. And when that happened, it made it really contested. So we are going to places where you can see that there was war. Some people will talk about it, some people won't, but they're also just up and coming places that are exciting to be. I'm going to put Lydia on the spot right now and say, Lydia, welcome. You've been on This Abroad before. I've been talking for a long time. And I know you and your group loved this city. What else did you love about the abroad that you'd want to share? Because I've gotten almost through all the big places we go.
Yes. Well, let's see. Personally, my favorite place was Zadar, because it was really cool. It's actually like a peninsula, and you can run around like the entire peninsula and then like across the little part that's connected to land, and it's only like a 3-mile run. There were a couple of us that like ran a lot on the abroad because we were just in such beautiful places. And yeah, it was gorgeous, and you're like right on the ocean. Like it was just so beautiful. Yeah, that's one thing about really all the places we went is just how like colorful it is and vibrant and just gorgeous it is.
Does it make it easier to learn if you're in a pretty place?
I mean, I'm biased to say yes. I think so. Especially, yeah, like there's a lot of obviously like experiential learning. I feel like I don't know if the schedule will be the same, but we ended up spending pretty much at least like half of our time in Ljubljana at the same hotel. And that gave us the opportunity to just get really familiar with where we were and learn so much about that area, and then but also like focus in on like the paper we were writing and like the books we had to read. And so I think you get a great balance of like getting to see a bunch of cool places, but also like getting to really focus in on one area and like the academic part. Yeah.
Thanks. Well, let's chime back in if you want to chime in again, let me know. I think you have you got to go to too. I'm not sure.
In a bit, yeah.
So this is Lydia didn't get here. I'm hoping we get there. It just could depend on many different things I don't know about yet. So the plan is to go to Sarajevo, and that's the capital. It's where East meets West. The picture on the bottom right is like an old Ottoman sort of bazaar trading post area. So you'll get to learn your history a little bit about like the Austro-Hungarian Empire and the Ottoman Empire. It's like one's Western Europe, one's Middle Easty stuff, Turkey, and Slovenia is mostly the Western Europe, Austro-Hungarian side. Croatia was kind of in the middle, and Bosnia was mostly influenced by the Turkish side. So it's a really different kind of world, more Eastern. They like to make things out of copper too. Okay, so here's me in one of my favorite places in the mountains of Slovenia. Just introducing myself, I teach writing. People think this is a writing abroad. It's really about history, culture, and literature. Through reading books and stories, you learn about the people and the culture. We're not gonna write papers on literary themes. It's all about bigger themes. Like I'll tell you, we're gonna talk about nationalism. That's one of them. So don't think of your typical English course or creative writing course. It's not either one of those. Even though I am a writer and teach writing, I read a lot. And I've just loved learning about these places through reading the literature, and that's what I want to share with you. I've been a writer and photographer for Principia. You can see on the bottom there, I like walking my dogs, bicycling, language, writing, and I just love sharing. I love sharing this place with people who've never been there before. And then on the right there, it's me with Caitlin Oakes. She is, just signed her up as the resident counselor. It's gonna be great.
And she just got on the call
That's
too.
not sorry to be late, everybody.
Awesome. Would you like to read us your piece or tell us about yourself?
Sure. Sorry about being late. I had a church meeting that went late, but nice to meet you all. And my name's Caitlin. I live in DC right now. I've known Ellen for a long time. And I've been in DC for about 8 years now. I'm in consulting here. But the nice part is I work for myself, so I can kind of take time off. So I'm really excited to be able to take a month off to be with all of you on this trip. I'm really looking forward to it. And I love traveling and all sorts of outdoor activities. And I did cross country. I did graduate from Principia in 2010. So yeah, that's me briefly.
Did you go on any abroads? I forget.
Yes, I went on the Peru and the New Zealand abroads when I was at Print, and they were probably the highlight of my 4 years. So this is very exciting to be able to come back and do another abroad.
And she was also a writing tutor, so that was exciting.
That's how we first sort of got to be friends. Ellen's been my boss before. I know what I'm signing up for.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thanks, Caitlin. And you can add something later. People can ask questions. All right, so why I fell in love with Slovenia, all these things. Gervais, do you want to tell us about the guy in the middle?
So that guy in the middle, he's been there all the times that I've been there, which is sadly only twice. But I'm really excited for Caitlin. And if she knows what she's getting into with Ellen, then we're all good. But this guy plays the accordion all day. And when I went to take this picture of him, he like spun his back to me. And so I dropped some money in his thing. And then he was like, oh, here, I will smile for you. So, but it's really fun accordion music. And the music there is really cool, especially like Ellen showed a picture earlier. One day there was just an entire, all throughout the city, there were just different little pop-up stands of music. And that's really not abnormal at all. And so just walking through the streets is awesome. You'll learn way more than you will anywhere else.
All right, thank you.
That's all. You're welcome.
So Slovenia is the first of these countries that I actually went to. It was part of my graduate program in writing. And that's where this abroad sort of originated, and I've made some friends there, and I keep growing my list of people I get to know and places I get to see. And they've got the coast, they've got skiing, they've got this odd proportion of world-class athletes for a country of 2 million people. The Primož Roglič is currently wearing the yellow jersey on the Tour de France. So, you know, that means he's winning. Primož Roglič is Slovenian. And there's another Slovene right near the top too. So they're just like really good athletes for some strange reason. Okay, stories from a homeland of shifting borders. We're gonna meet these people on the left. We're gonna read the stuff in the middle. I'll let you read that. And we'll write a little bit. The wreath of sonnets is a highlight. Everybody, it's modeled after a famous Slovene writer. Well, I'll learn how to write a sonnet, and you'll write a sonnet on your cultural topic, and then we weave them into a wreath. We link them so that the last line of Gervais' sonnet will be the first line of Lydia's sonnet, and it goes on. And you don't have to be a poet for this. It's just like a puzzle, really. Gervais says no. She's never written one, but she still says no.
It's like, it is so cool. I cried the first time I heard one because it was so awesome. And then they just made it better. So I cannot stress enough that even if you've never written a poem in your life, or you haven't written them since like 3rd grade, I think was when I did poetry, you will be just fine.
There's
Promise. And it's so cool.
It's not a poetry abroad. You just write one poem, and it's part of just mimicking what a famous author who made Slovene a literary language. He wrote around the time of Shakespeare, actually. Okay, the translating, we'll actually compare translations, like 2 different English speakers will translate something from Slovenian, and we compare that and talk about the differences. And it's pretty fascinating. And that bottom right, we'll learn about history and culture through literature. This is the basic itinerary. Students can travel ahead or arrive when I do. This is the day after graduation. You travel and arrive on the Monday after graduation at a specific time that we give you. Spend about a week in Ljubljana, maybe a little bit more. We'll do some language classes. We'll go to some university classes. We'll do some day trips to the castle and a cliff and a cave nearby. We'll go to Celje and see Boštjan and his family and his treehouse. Then we'll go to Croatia. So Zagreb and Ljubljana and Sarajevo are kind of the big cities. The other ones are smaller. Pretty much mentioned all those pieces there, what we'll do. Then Bosnia and Herzegovina. We'll see the remnants of the war that fills the literature of the region. And then into the Alps and back. This tends to be my favorite. We save the Alps for the end because it's cold. And we're saving it until the snow melts and we can get over the pass. And go see a World War I museum in Kobarid. You get to actually go to an outdoor museum and see the trenches where the rebuilt trenches where things were fought. You can stick your foot in Italy. You can stick your whole body in Italy. You don't get your passport stamped, I'm sorry. And then we spend time at Lake Bled, which I think I have more pictures coming of that, to just kind of wrap up and finish. There is an essay that you write at the end that just kind of brings everything together. It's kind of reflective and analytical. It's not a big research paper. And final things in Ljubljana. Sometimes on the itinerary things are set, and sometimes they're going to be, they have to change because the people we're meeting with have their own lives. There's Lake Bled. There's the trenches. Ryan Eisenhower just really enjoyed this trip, so there's a picture of him. A typical day would be breakfast together. Then the group are usually individual metaphysical time. We have a med ahead of the day. We'll walk together to our excursions. There's a lot of walking. There's free time to go sit in cafes, to read, to write. You'll do a lot of the reading in the semester beforehand, but we'll also do reading assignments when we are there. Excuse me, I have to quit out of Slack because it's just gonna keep clicking. Okay, and then dinner often as a group, often on your own. There are places where you can get doner kebabs for €2.50, or maybe you'll want to spend the 15 euros you get for your dinner.
No, eat there every meal. Every meal, eat there. It's so delicious, and the guy's hysterical, and it's so delicious. It's so delicious, and feel free to bring one back. I'll meet you at the airport. It's fine.
Yes. Speaking of which, there's a place in St. Louis called Balkan Treat Box who makes something similar, and we will take a field trip at least to Balkan Treat Box. Hopefully we'll get past all the restrictions that there are in the world right now, and I want them to teach us how to bake something. When we go to Lake Blade, we get to bake something too. But we'll at least get to eat some Balkan food before we go. The region is typically referred to as the Balkan Peninsula, though Slovenes don't like to be associated with the Balkan Peninsula. So everybody's got their little opinions over there, which is why it's fun that we get to go to 3 countries. And there's a lot of meat. Grilled meat is a thing. There's a lot of pizza, a lot of bread. It is mushroom and asparagus season. There are supermarkets where you can go buy cheap stuff and eat very cheaply. Get like a drinkable yogurt and a croissant for lunch. That'll do you fine sometimes. Gelato after a meal. It is traditional to take a strolato, which is to go buy some gelato and then take a walk. Because we walk, we take vans or coaches. We will take a van or a coach, which is a bus, to Plitvice Lakes, which is what this is, where you just walk among all these waterfalls in Croatia. We'll take a train, a funicular. It's like a funky elevator up the side of a hill. And we stay in hotels and hostels. Often, it's usually going to be doubles and triples, but there may be a few times where there's maybe 4 to 6 people in a room. But those are usually shorter stays. And then here's the serious stuff. Now that's what I give you. This is what you give back. You're gonna have to bring your own curiosity and empathy and intention. These are things that will grow while you're there. I'll give you opportunities to take advantage of all these things. Part of the outcomes for the abroad program include things like demonstrating and promoting respect for other cultures and backgrounds. Being self-aware, that's kind of like not being a loud, obnoxious American among all these Europeans who for some strange reason seem to be quiet. Maybe because they're not all excited about all the new stuff they're seeing like we are, so we get all excited and loud. Sometimes you'll want to lead, sometimes you'll want to follow, and as a group, we'll kind of try to develop a community where we know our roles at different times and people step up and help each other. And then that intention stuff, taking responsibility for your own learning. Don't expect it all to be handed to you. Ask people questions. When we meet with authors and translators, you will be assigned, you have to ask them questions. So you gotta think. Be flexible and adventurous. And then the commitment to growth in Christian Science and just your understanding of spirituality. Developing strength of character and loving your neighbor as yourself. These are just all the things that I see as ingredients to making it a good experience for us, and then us as a group as we get there. We will be a good influence where we go and not a distraction to the people we meet. They'll be happy we're there. The families we know in Slovenia just love when we come and love talking to the students. Okay, we're almost done. Academics. There's a 2-semester course in the spring. It's going to be on Mondays and Wednesdays at 10 a.m. And then it's going to combine literature and orientation. And then there's on the abroad, you kind of finish up the literature part. This is so you get a humanities credit. Once you've completed those 2 classes, we've kind of cobbled something special together. Probably more detailed than most of you care about, but it took a lot of paperwork to make that happen. And then country studies. Country studies is just really getting to know the countries, so and know the people and the history. There's another outdoor classroom. There's an indoor classroom where we were meeting a translator. There's Sammy just writing away at Lake Bled. Probably had just had our class on how to bake potica. And then in the fall, everybody, we're part about just once a week, usually that Monday slot right before lunch, where we'll get together and plan. We kind of close the loop on everything, and you plan what you want to do as a gift to the community. Previously, it's been a slideshow with video and sharing the wreath of sonnets. That's what this group has chosen to do before. They're always great pictures. This is Congress Square, pretty cool. You can just sit and read and drink Coke Zero, or try Kokta, which is the Yugoslav version of Coca-Cola. Everybody says no, some people love it. So who wants to join me? I will take questions. Lydia, is Lydia gone? Lydia had to go. I'm glad she was able to stop in her busy schedule. Anybody have questions for me or Caitlin or Mary Jane?
How many people are you guys taking on, like, or students are you taking on this trip?
Yeah, it's between 10 and 14 for these 4-week programs. That's the ideal number is 10 to 14. I've taken 7. No, I took 8. Yeah, and then one graduated, and then 10. Yeah, it's a really nice size.
How often do you run this abroad?
This is the time it is scheduled. There are not currently plans for it afterwards. We have to apply every couple of years, and so this is the only one that is promised at this point. Even if I were to apply, I would have to wait months to get approved.
The thing that, oh, go ahead, sorry.
Cooper?
Oh, yeah. No, I just wanted to know how I could, how and where do I apply for the abroad?
Oh, that's the next piece. Mary Jane's going to tell you that. Gervais, were you going to say something super important?
Well, I was just going to say, a lot of you guys are first and second years, but getting on an abroad early gives you, like, it just will change your whole outlook on how you do things. Jolie Keplinger was a freshman. She's now a PGTI in the sustainability department. So she's someone to ask about what it's like to go really early as a freshman, but she loved it. And I think that it really enhances your education going forward. So for your second, third, and fourth year, or if you're an engineer or whatever, it just changes how you think about everything. So taking advantage of this 3-week, it also frees up, because you're going to get general ed stuff. It'll free up your ability to take other classes. And it's so much cooler to learn in another country than it is to learn. I mean, our science center is really nice, but you cannot tell me that you'd rather sit in our science center or the School of Nations or even the new beautiful School of Government next year than you would sitting, heck, I don't know, like there's a bench that this Lake Bled picture's taken from. Feel free to go find that bench and tell me about it, since I haven't found it yet. That's all I have to say about that. Go ahead, Mary Jane.
Now let's go into the details, and then after the details, you can ask questions of Mary Jane or me. Yeah.
Okay. Great. Well, these are the things that you need to know if you're interested in applying to go on this amazing abroad. I mean, just look at the color of that water. It's killing me. I want to dive in. First of all, I will send you an email to follow up with information that you need with the application, the information sheet for this abroad. And so you'll have all that with you to reference after this meeting today. But first of all, the abroad applications are due Wednesday of week 4. It takes time to do everything you need to do to fill it out well. So it's not something you want to wait till the last minute, because you have to contact your RC and you have to contact your academic advisor to have a little conversation with them to make sure that they see this being a good opportunity for you. Like, you have time in your 4-year plan. So you have to get their signature. So you want to plan ahead. Another thing is you will need a passport, and if you're a U.S. citizen, you will not need a visa. So you want to make sure that your passport does not expire 6 months after you return from the program. So if you come back after it ends, it will be in mid-December. I think that's like December 16th or something. So it can't expire before that. If you're planning to travel after, just continue traveling, your passport has to be good for 6 months after you return from your travels. So you'll want to check that out. And it takes a while, especially with right now, with things. Paperwork with passports isn't necessarily moving quickly. Okay. So applications. This year, there are online applications to accommodate everybody, whether you're on campus or not. And our office has just put this together. I will show you what this looks like in just a minute, but on the follow-up email, I will include a link to the online application. So as I said before, it is due Wednesday of week 5, and late applications, not good. You'll need 2 signatures. What? 4. You need 4 signatures.
Week 4.
Did I say week 4?
You said week 5.
Oh my gosh, week 4. Thank you. I was looking at 5 o'clock. Good.
Now they're all going to remember.
Week 4. You will need your 2 signatures, one from your RC, one from your academic advisor. You will also need to be writing down 2 references that the faculty and RC will be calling to learn more about you. And one is a Christian Science reference, and another is what was that called, Allison?
Group learning.
Group learning, thank you. Group learning reference, so someone who can speak to how you work within a group. Okay, and the cost of the program, just so you're all on the same page, on a break abroad, the cost is based on per semester hour, and there are 4 semester hours for this program, so your tuition is based on 4 semester hours. You will be traveling for 4 weeks, and the abroad office determines the room and board, which is it's $300 per week. So for the 4 weeks, it'll be a $1,200 for room and board for the program. So you've got tuition, room and board, and then there's a $150 administrative fee for doing all the processing of your documents and everything. All of this will be charged to your PRIN bill and will show up there as tuition, room and board, and administrative fee. And if you are receiving any sort of financial aid or scholarships or anything in that regard, the percentage that you're receiving for the semester will then also apply to the tuition on this abroad. So that's something you will be able to work with financial aid to know what that actually looks like for you. An out-of-pocket cost is your airfare, and so you're in charge of purchasing that. If flights happen to be more than $1,500, then the abroad office covers anything above that cost. So looking into airfare just to get a sense of what that looks like will help you understand what that out-of-pocket cost is. And what's nice is that it's after school ends, you have the flexibility to travel beyond the program elsewhere in Europe, which is always a bonus.
It typically does get you back in time for camp.
That's true, because it ends
June 13th. Sometimes people might miss like setup week or something like that, but people have been able to go be camp counselors afterwards.
Yep. Okay. Any questions just about those logistics at this moment before I show you the online application?
Can I see something, Mary Jane?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want you guys to know, when it comes to like when you're there, Caitlin will give you money for food. So even that's not an out-of-pocket expense. Every single one of your meals while you are there is paid for. So it's not something that like you can totally wrap your head around until Caitlin's suddenly handing you like a week's worth of money, being like, here, go feed yourself. So, but just know that that's how it operates. So when you are there, you have very minimal expenses except for stuff that you want to do. Like if you want to buy souvenirs or whatever, but when you go to castles, when you go to caves, when you do all the ridiculously awesome things, it's all paid for by Caitlin. That is her like biggest job. And so She gets to carry a lot of money. So if you're, really needing some, just go talk to her. But like seriously, you don't have a lot of out-of-pocket expense besides just getting yourself there. So don't freak out about, oh, well, I might need money for Saturday night, like to go eat dinner with my friends. You'll be handed money for Saturday night dinner.
Thank you. Okay, one more thing I want to mention is that because you have to seek people out to meet with them about your academic plan and your RC, you also have some essay questions to write. And so you want to make sure you give time and thought to writing that well, so it really represents you and how you're going to give to the group and what you're going to bring to this program. It's not something you want to slap together. So give yourself time to be able to do that well. Okay, I'm going to try to share my screen. So, there we are. Okay. In the email that I will send you, we'll have the link to access the study abroad application that is now online. And you'll see here, it's pretty much going to tell you on this intro page what I have just shared. But it gives you some prompts to think about. This is the same application for Slovenia as it is for Ecuador and Galapagos, just so if it looks familiar, like, hey, I just saw that. And if you're planning to apply for both, you need to submit 2 different applications. You'll notice that there are 2 links here for to have signatures from your RC and then one from your academic advisor. So you'll click on the link to send that to your RC, and that tells them that you're applying for this. And then they will have to meet with you to talk about your academic plan and then sign it, and then it will be submitted back to us. If you are like me, I like to read something all the way through before I write and fill out my answers so I'm more thoughtful. There's a link on here that gives you and I'll click on it, but it gives you, let's try that. It takes you to this website, our study abroad website, and it shows you here's the application for Slovenia, Croatia, and Bosnia. And it gives you the PDF of this same application, so you can look through the whole application before you actually start filling out the form online. So this is not the online form. It's what I was looking at before. But this I would go, oh, this is the kind of question I'm going to be asked, because there's 10 sections that you have to complete, and you can't move from one section to the next without completing that whole section. You can't just go moving through it quickly. Okay. If I close that, let's see if I can I can't see there. There it is. Okay. Yes, Violet, go ahead.
So where is the online application found?
That will come, the link will come in the email that I will send you because you showed up for this info meeting. I have your email address and I will send that to you today.
Cool.
And we'll also send out, I don't know if you guys as first years have been reading the water cooler announcements that come out, but they come out every day, and I sent out the link and like our new application process last week. And so we'll send out another reminder probably next week and even like week 4, just with all the information that you're gonna need. So just, yeah, you'll have the email from Mary Jane, and if somehow you lose that, just know there will be another way that you can find the information.
Any other questions?
You can always reach out to me. I can also tell you who else has been on the abroads. You can talk to them. But I love talking about this place and the things we do. So you can always just send me an email and talk more if you want, or just apply.
Yeah, and if you have any questions about the application or any logistics, reach out to me as well, and I'll get back to you with your answers.
Super.
Well, you guys, thanks so much for joining. Have you?
You can also talk to Gervais if you want to know more. See you around.
Okay, thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
you.
Bye.